Hello, everybody. I am broadcasting from, well, I guess I'm currently still in Pennsylvania. I have not been on for quite a while, as I'm sure some of you have noticed, and I feel like I must explain and just jump back in. It's not so easy to jump back into broadcasting because many things have happened in between when I last showed up and spoke to you and now. First of all, apologies for the small camera. I'm on my phone. I can barely see what's happening here. So excuse me if we lose connection or if the video is not so great or whatever. But here's the thing. First of all, update on me. So to be very, very, very transparent, I'm not even sure I should be this transparent, but what's been going on in Israel has been super hard for me. What I mean by that is there's an extreme pressure from, I don't know, I guess it's coming from the government, it's fortified by the media, and it's supported by a lot of the population. The pressure being that everybody must vaccinate, and there are all kinds of bribes and penalties concerning this. And I'm not commenting on whether people should or shouldn't vaccinate. That's an individual decision that should be made, in my opinion, made based on transparency and informed consent and individual, medical situations and histories and all of that. But that's not what's happening. Even though no one is going door to door and injecting people, although they have actually talked about it, briefly at least. But the level of intensity around it, the rules, the changes. So the reason that I am here is very intense, very intense. And Israel in general is amazing and wondrous. It's like, being back in America now for a visit. The reason that I came back was because that I came here is because my son just had a baby. My daughter's 8 month old. I've never met. And we haven't seen our family, basically a lot of our family, for almost 2 years. And it was too much. And the pressure of, like, one of the things that's happening in Israel now is that, one of the rumors is that if you're not vaccinated, you can't leave. If you're not vaccinated, you can't come back. So far, that didn't actually happen. But it was quite intense in terms of flights being canceled, in terms of having to get special permission to leave the country, which to me, I grew up aware of, like, that free countries, that's the sign of a country that's not, that where the government is not favorable to the people is where you can't leave. Like the Soviet Union was always given as an example. So far, people can leave, but it's not easy. And the flights have been heavily curtailed and so forth. So I was very, very, very concerned with the possibility that, because I am not currently going for the vaccine because of my own, history, understanding, preferences, whatever, I was very concerned that, not so much about the fact that I can't eat indoors without the green passport, which every other country has declined to enact so far, but not Israel. Um, that doesn't bother me. I don't go to malls really anyway. I think you can still go to malls. I don't go to sporting events, things like that. But the fact that the thought that I couldn't come out and see my family for if that was enacted, that pushed me. Anyway, I would have come. The truth is, anyway, I would have come. I might have waited a couple weeks longer, but we were way overdue for a visit. So anyway, where I've been, and this is the first thing I want to say to you guys, where I've been is, what I've been engaged in is trying to book a flight. Took several days trying to get the special permission where the rules keep changing. That took another couple days. Then my flight got canceled a couple days ahead of time, and there was mad rushing for. I had a wonderful travel agent. If you want to know, if you want help with the travel agent, I'm happy to refer him. So DM me if that's the case. But it took him, it seemed like he was up all night trying to rebook about 20 clients on different flights when they had removed flights from the list of flights that's already full. Why are they doing that? I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, maybe I have some ideas, but I don't know. But I can tell you that it's not comfortable. The level of intensity there compared to here is off the charts. And a lot of people, if people are like happy to go along with the program and they feel it's good, so they might not notice as much. Also, when you're in something, you don't notice it as much. But it was just a very intense time, and I could not cut, what I was dealing with and the emotions that I was having around it, and then just suddenly put on my blonde wig, which I didn't bring with me, but imagine it now. And just, you know, I fell off on the ADAR project. That's the truth. I fell off on the ADAR project, except that I made myself very happy by coming to see family here. And God made me happy by letting me get out, even though I had to, we had a lot of papers. We had to show to the check-in counter, do you have your permission? Do you have your flight? Do you have your medical authorization? Do you have your, I don't know, my husband's pointing upward. Oh, yeah, we had to, right. COVID test. I hadn't taken any COVID test. I hadn't taken any COVID test previously. And the COVID test takes like up to 2 days to get the results in Israel. They don't do the fast test. I'm not going to say they don't have it, but they don't provide it. So there was one special test at the airport that if you showed a ticket, you could go to the airport and get that test, and that only took 17 hours. They guarantee it within 17 hours. So we got booked on a flight 10 minutes before Shabbat, like a second flight, like literally 10 minutes before Shabbat. And then within the next, both my daughters were with me, and one of them found this airport option, and the other one booked the final appointment for the 17 hours before our flight, which was Sunday night, literally 2 minutes before Shabbat. And it was the last appointment of the day, which was 4:45 a.m., 2 hours drive from our house. So we drove there in the fog. It was actually very beautiful, and we got the test. Then we drove back. Then we waited for the test, and our flight was that night. And then it just was very, very, very intense. So what do I want to talk about? I wanted to update you on that. And then I wanted to spend a very short time. My main goal here is just to show up again, I'm in a new place. It's still Adar. I'm happy. I'm not happy about what's going on in the world. It's very concerning, but I do believe that it's a time of truths being more revealed. Like the more governments, the more, maybe not everybody's going to relate to this. I think by now a lot of people who don't relate to this have left and aren't following me anymore. So I have to say it like I see it, but it seems to me very much like they're pushing it too hard. Not too hard for me. For sure they're pushing it too hard for me. The coercion thing, the fear thing, everyone must march to the same, drumbeat thing, the for your own good, we're locking you into the country thing. Those things, yes, of course. But I feel like they're pushing it too hard for themselves. Like we're so close to, censoring information, not allowing things to be printed, threatening people who share information, all these kinds of things. The atmosphere of fear, which again, I don't associate it with a free country. And that's very disturbing because Israel's my home, and it's the home of all of the Jewish people, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place, and the people are incredible, and it's magical, and it's as my husband said, Israel has an extra dimension. It's like the U.S. is beautiful, North America is beautiful, so let's say it has 3 dimensions. Israel has 4 or 5, and you feel it. It's like the air is alive, everything's alive. I missed it from the moment that I landed here. I knew I would, and I don't know what they're going to require to get back in, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. They're talking about putting tracking bracelets on people, I think ankle bracelets, to people, like house arrest, basically, where the government's tracking with ankle bracelets to make sure that the citizens don't break house arrest when they return. So far, I have a friend who did return a couple days ago, and they did not put an ankle bracelet on her, thank God. So I don't even know how much of it is real and how much of it is like incentive to line up. But I do feel that truths are being revealed, and I do feel that the things like somebody said to me several months ago, it's like a detox. When you have symptoms, when you don't have symptoms, so you think everything's okay, you don't even look. When you start to have symptoms like a runny nose, or whatever it might be, you think you're getting sick, but in fact, most of the time what's happening is that there's a detox, something that was hidden inside, something that was there and you didn't see it is starting to come to your attention. So it's flowing out, like better out than in. And I feel like to a large degree, that is what we need to see. That's the way we need to look. That's what we need to look for in these times. That's the paradigm, the context that we want to live within, that it's coming up to be released. It's coming up to be perceived, is coming up to be transformed, because that's how it works. When something is hidden, in the unconscious, whether it's personal or collective, it needs to become conscious. Why? Because consciousness equals choice. There are other reasons for this as well, Kabbalistic reasons. Things need to go from tohu, the realm, the primordial worlds of chaos, which is correlated to the unconscious and the ego. They need to go to tikkun, which is the rectified cosmic divine superstructure where things, the world of chaos and tohu, it's kind of like my way or the highway. There's no way for, like, there's a lot of polarization, a lot of conflict, which is like how it works with our unconscious, right? We unconsciously want to feel safe, so we will, sabotage our efforts to get healthy or to build a good relationship or whatever it is. So there's the total creates consciousness. But the point is that when things come up to consciousness, pre-choice is restored. Consciousness equals choice. And what's possible is to create a harmony, a harmonious balance between different desires that we have, between different parts of us, or as we are microcosms, we're fractals, to create a more harmonious balance between different people and different points of view. And, I want to say that, and some of you know this, some of you might not know this, but there were two temples that stood in Jerusalem that were both destroyed. The first was destroyed by the Babylonians in the 73 BC. I don't remember exactly. I think that's the date. And the second one was destroyed by the Romans. It was rebuilt. It was destroyed by the Romans a few hundred years later. And we're promised that there will be a third temple built that will be a combination of all of the elements and all of the advantages of those two temples, but that will never be destroyed. It will be eternal. So that's the idea of going from chaos, from conflict, to reconciliation and harmony. When you have conflict, something needs to be destroyed to make way for something else. Somebody has to lose in order for somebody else to win. When it comes, that is tohu, that is chaos, that is toxic, ego-based, trauma-based way of living. But it is the way that we've been living for a very long time. It's the way that many things function, many societies function, many families function, many relationships function. A tikkun, a rectified, harmonious, larger superstructure, allows everyone to be totally who they are, and at the same time, to play their unique role, to take their unique place, their cosmic design function, their absolutely essential piece of a higher order, of a bigger puzzle, of a bigger organism. So real tikkun, holiness, holy cooperation, holy selflessness, holy sustainable interrelatedness always means that you are able to be truly who you are and yet a contributor to the whole. So that's where we need to go. Right now we are in the state of tohu, where things are breaking down, where fear, our unconscious is being triggered all the time with the weaponized fear that we're being bombarded with. And I don't believe for 1 second that it's an accident that we have started to see each other as enemies. So I wanted to finish. I started saying this and I didn't finish. The temple, we were taught that the second temple was destroyed because of sinat chinam. What is that? It's baseless hatred of each other, like where you're in my way, so I want you out. I want you gone. I want you destroyed. Your presence is hurting me. Your beingness is hurting me. Your choices are hurting me. So this baseless hatred was the cause, because it creates chaos, and chaos tohu is ultimately always destructive. It cannot last. It's not sustainable. It has to go away in order to make space for something else. It's that paradigm, my way or the highway. The two of us can't stand in the same space. Never the twain shall meet, like that. But the rectification, what will rebuild the temple, is ahavat chinam, is unconditional love, where we can bond, where we can connect, where we can be ourselves and connect with someone else, and together make something bigger than what we could be on our own. But it has to come through a recognition and a shining forth of the real self. And I'm going to just say one more thing and leave it with that. That brings me to the final point that I want to make for today, and that is there's a central channel. As we go through the flurries of life, as we go through the drama, the sound and fury, especially in times like these, challenged. I don't see that. There we go. So we're being challenged. Our comfortable, predictable lives are being challenged. The way that we think, the way we see ourselves. I'm being challenged even by being in America, not sitting in my beautiful office in Israel. I'm like, oh, how do I broadcast? Even on that simple level. So as we swirl around from one place to another, as the news keeps coming forward, as our thoughts are challenged, as our expectations are sometimes challenged, whatever happens, we're being pulled ultimately in. We're being pulled into a deeper place of our own being. And in that place, I'm calling it for now the central channel. In that place, you meet God. You meet your own purpose and ultimately your own light and your own destiny. And everything that is happening, without any exception whatsoever, is designed to facilitate that, is designed to pull us each in, deeper into that central channel. So whether you're leaning this to the right, or you're leaning to the left, or your life is going this way or that way, or the news is this way or that way, that polarity is happening around you. But it's all designed not to throw you from side to side. Like I felt like I was being tossed. So I'll just wait a second. So I don't know if I'm being. It feels like being tossed. Sorry for the interruption if you lost video. Video. I don't know. It feels like being tossed from one, like the horns of dilemma. They say that one of the punishments of people who need rectification after passing away. I think we're getting plenty now, so I hope we don't need any of that. It's called kafakela. Like you're being tossed from, painfully tossed around. And it feels like that a lot in our times. But I want to tell you, and this is the point I want to leave you with, we'll leave it at this, that it's all designed to pull you into that center channel. That center channel doesn't go anywhere. It cannot be tossed. It's rooted in the very bedrock of the universe and the very bedrock of who and what you are and why you're here. So as life tosses, let it pull you in. I'm going to end with that. And even though I said I would talk about NISSAN, I'm going to endeavor to be on tomorrow, the 28th of NISSAN, of ADAR rather, and if not, then on Sunday. I also want to say this is the 27th of ADAR, Chaf Zayin Adar. So it is the anniversary of when the Lubavitch Rebbe had a stroke. First stroke and second stroke happened on this day. So it's a very, very intense day. What the Alter Rebbe says about his stroke in a mimer called as Halach Liajna, he talks about how when Mashiach comes, he will receive a new soul. What does that mean? We don't lose our old soul, but we receive a different level of soul, a more cosmic level. All of our souls are really one soul. They're hewn from one rock, so to speak, and then they're individuated. And then just a tiny dot of each of ours comes into our consciousness and into our body, and we're connected to huger and huger levels. But at the very core level, at the bedrock level, all of our souls are one soul. So Mashiach's soul is a collective soul for all generations. It's the central soul. It's like the cosmic core of the soul. And when that level comes into a living person who's, breathing in a body, so it's a huge amount of light. And the Alter Rebbe explains in this mimer, in this discourse, this Halach Liajna, that it is like a stroke. That it's like that when a stroke happens, too much blood enters different limbs and confuses the limbs. Like there's a confusion, so I guess that's what happens in a stroke. No one should have one ever, God forbid, but that there's a loss of this. It's like tohu, I guess. It's like that chaotic strong force that's the light is too big for the vessels and it overwhelms the vessels, and so there's no harmony and coordination, which is also another explanation of tohu. What's happening now in our world is so much messianic light that it's causing a tremendous uproar. It's uprooting things, and that is like a stroke. So the Alter Rebbe says that the coming of Mashiach, the soul of Mashiach, entering into Mashiach, entering into the body of Mashiach, can be compared to a stroke, which causes too much blood to come into the organs, too much life force, and confuses things. So that is actually, that happened, the stroke happened to the Rebbe on this date, in 1992, and then again in 1994 on the exact same date. So this date certainly has a powerful connection to the influx of the new life force, the new light, and the extra blood. The blood is the nefesh, the blood is the life force of Mashiach. And since each of us has a spark of that soul, that cosmic central soul, at the core of our own soul, so we need to be open to that and allow that new light, that new influx, that new power to come into us. And even if and that is what's happening, in fact, and even if it's confusing, even if it makes us wonder, like, where am I? What's happening? What's going to happen? We want to understand what it is. When you have a new context for something, it puts everything in a different perspective. Like, we want to build an awareness of the picture on the top of the box, which will change our entire experience. It's all about that central channel. It's all about that deeper connection. It's all about taking the energy of Tohu and putting it into the vessels of Tikkun, a higher order of harmony. You can do that by asking yourself, what is the purpose? What is the potential here? What's the potential in what I'm experiencing? If I were to understand what I'm experiencing right now as a divine, what would I do with it? What could I do with it? What could be in it for me? What could be in it for others? So that is the question I'll leave you with on the 27th of Zayin Adar, and in these amazing, turbulent, challenging, upsetting, potential, rich, deepening, metamorphizing times. So let's make the most of it. We'll start by connecting more with ourselves, whether with God. Just allow yourself to move into the central channel again, asking yourself, what could be good about this? If this had a purpose, and if I could know the purpose, what might it be? If there's a potential here, assuming there's a potential here, what is it designed, or what could it facilitate? What is it designed to bring out in me, out from me, or what is it designed to? Expansion is designed to facilitate me. Okay, I don't know if you can hear me when it's going dark, but I'm just going to say sayonara for now. Shalom, litraot, and I hope to see you tomorrow. When